I'm Vasel, and welcome to a special edition of Board Game Breakfast. Why this special? Because this is probably the only time in a decade or so that you're going to see Board Game Breakfast actually air on Leap Day, February 29th. Well, anyhow, we got a lot of stuff for you today. We put out several reviews and things last week, and you can check out Week in Review for that. One of the things we did last week is I put up a blog that Randy Hoyt did, which I found very interesting, and so I had Eric narrate it, and then I put pictures up, and we put it together as a video about manufacturing costs. I found it very fascinating. I like a couple things. One, I'd like to know your feedback on that. And if you find this interesting, maybe you could point me to other really good blogs that you would like to see come out in a video format. I think maybe they're a bit of a work to do, so I want to know if you guys think they're worth us putting together to do. At the same time, if you do like them, I like to find some really good blogs, and because sometimes that visual stimulation, I think, helps us as we do these. We're going to be doing a Q&A today. I believe that will be at 11 a.m., and it may not be just me this time, so come around for the question and answer time, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. There's still room on the Dice Tower Cruise, but each week some more tickets sell. I believe we are down to 70 left or so, so don't wait too long on that. Anyway, let's get to the news. First of all, let's talk about American Doll. This is an organization that makes incredibly, really nice, historical, detailed, and very expensive dolls, which is why my kids have gotten very few of them. But anyhow, they make different sets and different things. Well, they made a pizza party set that include a small, tiny, playable board game. What was the board game? Blocus. Which is a little game about putting things together. It's kind of interesting to me, that little tiny blocus, but hey, it's still cool that that sort of thing has made it into another world. American heritage is very popular. Hey, I'm happy to see board games spread anywhere. The Cannes Games Festival, which is a big gaming convention in France, announced the Golden Ace Awards. These seem to be modeled very much on the Spiel des Jahres because they have three categories. One for kids, which Master Fox was the winner of that one. Great game. The expert category, Pandemic Legacy won that one. No surprise there, really. And their Game of the Year category, which Mysterium won. So that's cool. See, good Mysterium still has legs going. We use several sources on the internet. I found several places. Hey, we got exclusive on Dead of Winter, The Longest Night. And oh, we got exclusive on it. So Dead of Winter, The Long Night has been officially announced now. This is a sequel/expansion. So it's basically its own game, just like Dead of Winter, but apparently you can mix things back and forth. Another colony, still in the same thing. Hey, why mess with a good thing, I guess? I thought we would see maybe another game using that same system, but looks like we're going to be with zombies for a while still. Hasbro's announced more Magic the Gathering board game stuff, Shadows over Innistrad, which is basically based on their latest Magic the Gathering set. La-di-da. They announced that this expansion is coming out in the fall. Really? I'm still kind of mind-boggled at this. Normally I like when companies space their expansions out, but this game so desperately needs expansions, and it looks like they're releasing 2 small expansions a year? They don't even do that with Magic the Gathering. Whatever. I'm rapidly losing interest in this game. Crash Games has merged with Geek Chic. Now, I thought this had happened last year, and he said no, that they were just exploring the possibilities of it because they were kind of together. And spending time together, I thought they were one. But they are now officially together, so this is interesting. Geek Chic is acquiring game companies, or is Crash Games the only game they're going to work with? I don't know. We'll have to wait and find out more information on that. PSI Distribution, working with Barnes & Nobles to have special game nights at them. And this is interesting. Now, there's none here in Florida, so I'm not going to be able to see these firsthand. But you can go to the website and find there's a whole list. Dice Tower News, we have a list of all the different Barnes & Nobles across the United States that are doing this, and they're going to be playing and teaching games. And they have the first 5 was King of Tokyo, great choice. Sheriff of Nottingham, I'm biased, but still great choice. Splendor, great choice. Codenames, great choice. Lanterns, great choice. What? It's a very solid offering. This will be interesting. Will we start playing board games at your local Barnes & Nobles? Who knows? Upper Deck has released some more information about Captain America Legendary. This is a small set to commemorate the 75th anniversary of Captain America. We'll have a new keyword savior, where if you have a certain number of bystanders in your pile, you get to do actions. And Stonemaier Games has announced a new expansion for Viticulture, the Moors expansion. This is a small expansion, but it's designed by Uwe Rosenberg, the designer of Le Havre and Agricola and Caverna. So he made many cards. They pared it down to only 40, a small expansion, but hey, this seems like peanut butter and chocolate situation, a good thing. All right, let's move on to Kickstarter news.
Happy breakfast, everybody! We might be seeing a bit of a pre-gamma slowdown in crowdfunding right now, but there are still some interesting projects to take a look at. First up today is Heldentoff, which is a lightweight dungeon crawl game in which players can explore the upper world, gathering ingredients for potions and building up their armor. But once you discover the portals, you can switch to the netherworld, where you can take on missions to battle monsters for treasure. The art and the mechanisms of this game are really light, which makes it pretty family-friendly, but the way that the players can explore both worlds and the way that you can control the monsters and form teams in the netherworld adds some nice complexity to this game from Switzerland. The game's already funded, but there are some component quality stretch goals they're trying to meet, so for a pledge of around $40, you can get a copy of this charming game. From the team that brought us Tesla vs. Edison, Corrupted Kingdoms is a game about passing advantageous bills, adding riders, and manipulating the Senate to your will. Essentially a politically skinned action selection game, Corrupted Kingdoms could have easily been set in ancient Rome or even in modern-day politics, but the fantasy setting with orcs, witches, and vampires really helps lighten up the political overtones. The art and components look great, and the gameplay mechanisms look solid, but it's really going to be the player negotiation element that's key to success as you quest for the most guilty pleasures. $32 will get you a copy of the game, but if you want the snazzy meeples, you'll need to pledge $47. Siege of Redan is not a game based on the underrated sci-fi movie Edge of Tomorrow, but it is an intricate area control and resource management game with specialized units, including merchants, ambassadors, and assassins. Gameplay is card-driven with lots of special abilities, and a pledge of $39 will get you a copy of this limited print-run game. Mi Tierra Nueva Era is the second edition of a game that was previously hard to get outside of Chile. In a theme that sounds pretty familiar, players are building up homesteads by growing crops and livestock and selling and converting goods. The gameplay has been tooled to offer meaningful choices but not overwhelming options, and has been compared in complexity to Stone Age, or even called Agricola Light. The game designers have incorporated some tweaks based on feedback to the first edition, but they are keeping the cute and cartoony art. Mi Tierra is an accessible worker placement game that Melody Vasel listed in her top 100. It's unclear if there are retail plans in the future outside of Chile, but a pledge of €39 will get you a copy of the game. Coming from Van Ryder Games, Saloon Tycoon has players competing to build the best saloon in town. Unlike many tile laying games, in Saloon Tycoon you can build up as well as out. Players will have secret objective cards that will help guide their strategy, and as you add more interesting rooms onto your building, you will attract richer guests, which will mean more points, but you'll also attract outlaws that have a mix of negative effects. A pledge of $40 plus shipping will get you a copy of the game, but Van Ryder is playing around with an uncommon shipping option they call hubs, which would allow backers in a common area to save money on shipping, so you might want to check that out. And from Dogmite, a company that specializes in custom gaming accessories, comes the Dragon Sheath campaign. These unique carved gaming boxes are without a doubt a luxury item for gamers. But whether you want to cradle your favorite dice in style or are looking for a gift for that gamer who has everything, these boxes are undeniably beautiful and meticulously crafted. There are a range of price options starting at $35 and going up from there depending on the type of wood and the style that you select. That's all I've got for you this week. I've already got some cool stuff lined up for next week, but until then, play all the games. All of them.
Okay, so we are coming to the most special Whitleypedia of all time. This is something we can only do once every 4 years. It is the What Games Should You Play on Leap Day edition of Whitleypedia. Now, this week we're going to talk about Whitleypedia Top 100 Games of All Time, which first started dropping last week here on the Dice Tower. Last week we had our intro video, and we also had my numbers 100 through 91, which I labeled my legacy games. What do we have this week? We have our hidden gem games and our guilty pleasure games, comprising numbers 90 and 71. I hope you come along with us on the journey. If you haven't watched them, be sure to go watch the ones from last week and get ready to watch the ones this week. We're looking forward to as much coverage on this interaction as we possibly can get. We want to thank you for your help. And of course, happy Leap Day. Remember, nothing that happens on Leap Day counts, except watching the Whitleypedia Top 100 Games of All Time.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel.
Jason Levine.
Today's question from David. He said 2 out of the last 5 games he got where there was either a missing punch board and there was another one that was wrong, or there was a misprint on the punch board. And that was kind of annoying. How often does that happen to us, and what do you do when it does?
Well, I could think of 2 recent examples. One was Roll for the Galaxy, the original set, which was when they first shipped it, there was a lot of missing punch boards, wrong sorted punch boards, and everyone just...
Yeah, but they recalled that one.
Exactly, they recalled it, and they also Jay said, if you already got a copy, send us what you're missing and we'll send it to you. And usually it's a good thing to go to the publisher, write to the publisher, and they will get you what you need. Now, the other example I could think of recently was Nippon. One side was printed right, but the other side, the sheet was just a little off, so all the tokens after they were punched out were cut wrong.
Now, usually when that happens, that is a one-time thing. It is not like happen in all the games. There have been a couple times where I've gotten a review copy and there's something wrong in the box. Like I recently got a game, it was missing a miniature. I got another game, it was one of the things was printed wrong. So I immediately contacted the publisher and said, you better check all your games. And they said, oh, we checked them and apparently you just got a bad box. And so they sent me replacements. And that happens. I can't think of any publisher who will refuse to send you replacements.
No.
Most publishers, what they do is they take like a pile of games and they set them aside. And when people need parts, they just pull parts from those games and send them out to you. Or they will get sheets of extra stuff from the manufacturer. Like they'll get a box of cards and counters. Sometimes they'll run out of one part, but usually then what they do is they just crack another game open. So they lose a sale in the game when that happens. But he said it happened to him 2 out of 5. For me, I would say it's more like 1 out of 100. Usually, it's not that common. I think you just got very unlucky.
Yeah, usually it's not that often. I mean, I could tell you some of my games that I had to write in. Colt
Did you say
Express.
right?
Well, email in.
Back in the days.
Colt Express, but then again, I got the copy from Tom, so it was missing a diamond, so I had to write to them to get the one missing diamond token. And Compounded, which I actually got at a convention. I got the convention copy that they gave to me.
Right, well,
it was missing a gem.
Those are different.
But usually
different things. Usually, when you open a box up, all the pieces are there.
Yeah, and if you do, but even if you're missing something, like I just said, hey, I'm missing this piece, you just write to the manufacturer and they send it. Even for my Small World Designers Edition, one of my pieces was the label was bad, and I said this one piece, the label's bad, and they sent me a new one. And the companies are very good about that. So I would definitely recommend getting in touch with companies if you want pristine parts like I do.
All right. Anyway, until next time, I'm Tom Vasel.
Jason Levine.
Send us questions at dicetower@gmail.com.
Hey there, this is Mike with the Board Game Makeover. In today's episode, I took a really small game, Love Letter, and I want to show you how easy it is to take this game, change out the components, the artwork, and the theme to create a whole new experience, yet you still play by the same rules. This is the original Love Letter that consists of 16 cards numbered 1 through 8. You need to get your letter to the princess, but you can't give it to her directly. You have to give it to one of her trusted friends, and so the player with the highest numbered card at the end of the round is the winner of that round. Love Letter Homer Simpson is about the Great Springfield Beer Prohibition. You are a beer brewer trying to become Homer's underground beer supplier, so you want Homer to taste your beer, but you have to go through his trusted family, friends, and good people of Springfield. Each of the 8 characters have flavor text that connect them to Homer and the beer prohibition. If Homer gets your beer, you win the round, and Homer gives you one of his beer tokens. The cards were made out of European high-value poker chips, and the small Homer tokens were made from mini poker chips. The second Love Letter variant is the Dice Tower edition. Board game companies throughout the land were desperate to get their games reviewed by Tom and the Dice Tower with hopes of a favorable review and to be marked with the Dice Tower seal of approval. You are one of these game companies trying to get your game into Tom's hands. Unfortunately, Tom will not review a game unless it's provided by him by one of his close friends or Dice Tower contributors. Instead of cards, I used full-size poker chips that feature Z, Eric, Suzanne, Jason, Sam, Rodney, Tom, and Dan. The board game tokens were made from the components found in Rummikub, and small pictures of board games were glued to them to make them look like mini board games. Changing out the artwork, the theme, and the components in Love Letter was fun, but you have to have a good storyline that brings it all together. If you've created a Love Letter variant, I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. Thanks for watching the Board Game Makeover, and we'll see you next time.
Welcome to the 101. We're going to continue our series about eyes. Now, before we get down to paper, let's take a look at some of the things that you're going to need. I went down to Hobby Lobby just to get some extra stuff so I can show you guys how to do this. This is a zero brush. Master Touch makes them. They're very good and very well put together, and a little pricey. It's $5 for one, but this is a good medium price brush that'll be perfect for doing eyes. Also, if you don't have a magnifying glass, this thing wasn't too bad, and if you use a coupon, you can get it for 12 bucks. It has a light in it, and it does 3 times magnifying, because sometimes having the headset may be kind of bulky, and you may want to hold the figure right where you can get it. The bigger it looks, the illusion of the area being big, the easier it is for your hand to stay steady. Now, some people use toothpicks, but I like to use skewers. And you're saying, what are you going to use bamboo skewers for? Well, don't you worry. We're going to find out how to use these in the coming weeks. But you're going to want to get some of these, and we'll talk about that later. Let's get down to the paper and see what we could do here. Now this week what we want to do is we want to fill in this circle. We've already got the black circle there, and you want to take a different color, either brown or blue, and make it on the inside, but not covering up all the black, but make a smaller circle on the inside. It's kind of hard to see on this camera, but it's all going to make sense when you see it painted on your paper. So there you go. You got your homework assignment. Black circle, blue circle within. Practice it, and you'll get better at it, and it'll all come together in the next week. So until next time, I'm Rob Warren, and we'll see you again on the 101.
Hey folks, all right, let's take a look at what's coming out this week. Well, we're going to be doing a top 10 list. You'll be seeing our top 10 deduction games. I'll be taking a look at several board games. Council of Four from Cranio Creations, the big deluxe version of Pixel Tactics, the Infinite board game. Can you have an infinite number of board games in one box? Well, 504 tried that. This is something similar along those lines. We're taking a look at Blood Rage expansion and Battle Lore expansions, the new Archaeology, the card game, a game called Stinker. Does that sound bad or not? We'll find out soon enough. And there's other things you'll see this week. We got several different videos from Chaz and from Sam and Z, and just different things that will come out this week. I'll continue the alphabet series. This time it's the letter B. Okay, so all that's coming out. Don't forget though, you may be a video watcher, but we do a lot of audio stuff, a lot of podcasts. Our podcast, and there are 30 other podcasts that are part of the Dice Tower Network, and you can find all these podcasts and all the things about them at dicetower.com. Check it out there.
So there I was, Chaz Marler from Pair of Dice Paradise, leafing through the litany of listings on BoardGameGeek.com, as I had countless times before, in search of the next cardboard concoction that would grab my attention and ignite my imagination. Onward I trudged, past the 137 entries for Cthulhu games, skipping the 293 games brandishing the Star Wars name, bypassing the 320 zombie game listings, and circumventing the 326 pirate games surfacing on the site. Surely among this massive myriad of merchandise, there must be some games based on my favorite television series of all time, Avatar: The Last Airbender. For those not in the know, Avatar: The Last Airbender was a 3-season animated series that took place in a world divided into 4 different nations, each one having control over one of the elements: water, earth, fire, and air. This is a rich, imaginative world featuring characters and stories that clearly demonstrate how it's possible to periodically delve into deep philosophical questions while making a kiddies cartoon show. This is a universe that begs to be adapted into board games. The Siege on Ba Sing Se could easily serve as the inspiration for a version of Stronghold. The varied cast of characters and their abilities would mesh perfectly with Dice Masters. And the 3-season struggle to overcome the Fire Nation's oppressive invasion is more than worthy of an epic game with asymmetrical player powers, the magnitude of Twilight Imperium. But alas, my board game geek search revealed to me the totality of the Avatar game catalog. One defunct trading card game published 10 years ago with an average rating of 5.6 out of 10. I mean, even the comments that praise this game seem embarrassed to be there, stating, it's fun enough for me, and it was cheap enough. That's the best thing that anyone has come up with to say about this game! The fact that the Avatar: Last Airbender animated series hasn't been better adapted to the board game world is a crime against imagination and the potential of this intellectual property. This IP is just begging to make the leap from television into other storytelling mediums. No. Nope. I'm done with this discussion. Sorry. Nope. Sorry. This is why we can't have nice things.
Adam Dork from NTBG with another segment of
The Notorious Beards and Gaming.
The beard this week for players is quite unique. It comes from Invasion from Outer Space, a team-based cooperative game where carnival workers hold off an invading force of Mars Attack-esque Martians, complete with plastic glue on helmets, so it looks like, they've come right from the movie. But the beard we're going to look at is quite special. Let's get to it. There is the strongman, but that's a little too on the nose. Meet Angelica, the bearded woman. Some may call it strange, but I just call it a nice beard. And you can see on the miniature, there's a hint of a beard. The mustache shows out a little more, but there's still a beard to be represented there. And I think when you're looking at beards, hers probably gets overlooked more times than not. Angelica, the bearded woman from Invasion from Outer Space. Proving that beards are for women too. This has been your week's Notorious Beards in Gaming. If you have a favorite beard, be sure to leave it below and follow this stuff if you like what you heard. Let's play some games.
Hello my friends, I'm Professor Hans von Puppet. Today we'll be taking a look at a Euro-inspired area enclosure worker placement bluffing game, which is heavy on downtime, but still gateway-ish and fiddly, with an expansion that adds a Chinese auction rondel system combined with...
Hello. Board games have a lot of terminology, and what do they all mean? I mean, worker placement, you kind of can guess what it is. It is a worker who plays somewhere, and you have a deck building. Do you build a deck of cards, a house, or what is it? So I'm going to start out easily with one of my favorite genres, and that is worker placement. In worker placement, you usually have a set of workers or pieces that you can place out on a board, and these places indicate actions that you can do. And those actions are usually limited to being used one time. And if not, more expensive for the next person to go there. So, worker placement is often about being the first one to go to a certain specific action and getting a certain benefit by doing that. And also, you have a limit of workers you can place out, and it's always important to time it correctly so that it's working for your benefit. And sometimes people will ruin your plans by placing the workers where you want to go, even though it doesn't benefit them directly, but they just want to stop you. Well, that's it for now, and I hope it's been very educational for you. And the next time I'll look at something else, maybe explain to you why Norway is the capital of Sweden, or... no, it's not. Yeah.
Well, I hope that cleared things up for you. Until next time, have fun gaming.
Hello and welcome again. Niels Surrelsbrettspiele durchgespielt. The best and the worst. Not mechanism anymore, because I'm talking a little bit more widely. Today we are talking about Mombasa. My favorite part on Mombasa is by far that you have these action slots here, and when you use this action slots, you flip it over, and after you used all your actions, including your special actions, you bring these cards up into the resting slots. However, before you bring that up into the resting slots, you take one resting slot, a complete resting slot, even if there are more cards in it, back to your hand. This management of action cards into resting slots, that's brilliant. And even if you get more slots available here, more action slots, then you have more resting slots, and it gets even more difficult. And that leads me this even more difficulty to one of the things I really don't like on the game, but it's a tiny little thing. When you, for an example, use the bookkeeping action here, that is a really prepared action. You have to be ready that your guy can walk over all these books, so you need cotton and you need bananas and things like that. And then pressure comes in from the other players that they are trying to steal here these action spots over here, and you are I need to go there, I have to do this, and then you flip it here and buy probably a card or whatever, and then you flip it over and you realize, I forgot to take my bookkeeping action first. That was another, the best and the worst, was Niels Surrelsbrettspiele, and today we talked about Mombasa. See you next time. Bye bye.
Hey folks, now sometimes it may seem that I'm anti-Kickstarter, and I am most certainly not. I mean, we do run the Dice Tower has its own Kickstarter, and a lot of fantastic, amazing games have come from Kickstarter. Of course, a whole lot more horrifically bad games have come from Kickstarter, but that's not really a part of the process. However, I thought I would share with you something that I often say to people who come to me and they say, hey, I've decided, I've made a game, I decided that I'm going to self-publish it, that I'm going to go the Kickstarter route and do my game that way with my own company. And I always say the same thing to these people, and I say I highly, 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 highly recommend that you do not do that. Please don't do that. And you're like, wow, Tom, way to be a negative Nancy, a Debbie Downer. Well, let me tell you my reasons or some questions that I would have for you. My first question would be this, is why would you not go to a publisher who knows what they're doing? Why there are so many fantastic publishers who have made great, amazing games. Why haven't you gone to any of those publishers and have them handle it for you? Now, some people don't like different publishers. Okay, that's a fair reason. Or some people like, I don't want to have to do a publisher and then wait for years, some months or years for them to publish it. But that's just life. You self-publish it yourself, you're going to also have that long period of time. Maybe you don't like working with other people, in which case I would caution you to stay out of the business, period, because you are going to have to work with other people. But the real truth of the matter is, many times when people come and say, I want to publish it myself, it's because they've taken it to other publishers and no one is interested in it. Well, here's a small heads up. This isn't 100% certainty, but I would say it's about 98%. And that is, if nobody wants to publish your game, it's not that good. Really? If you've shown it to many, many publishers and they've all told you, we're not really interested in it, then your game should probably not be published. And you're like, oh, Tom, I'm the 2%. Yeah, probably not. Also, my second thing for you would be, what is your vision? What is your vision as a publisher? When someone comes to me and says, hey, I'm going to start a new publisher business, I'll say, okay, great. What are you going to do differently than Fantasy Flight? What are you going to do differently than Cool Mini or Not? What are you going to do differently than Stronghold? What are you going to do differently than all the other companies? And invariably the response is, well, we're going to make really good games. Well, no! Oh, stinking duh! I mean, come on now. Of course everyone might make great games. What are you going to do? What is the vision of your company that when people hear your company, they're going to be able to say, ah, that's the company that makes this kind of game. That's the company that has this in it. What is your vision? And then you say, I'm going to be a one-man publisher. I'm going to say, great. So you're really good at graphics and you're really good at art and you're really good at logistics, something that most people know nothing about. You're really good at business. You're really good at finance. You're really good at promotion because you have to be all those things when you're a one-man show. And I've met maybe 2 people in my life who I thought were good at all of those. Some people still manage to pull it off because they're good enough administratively to find others who can handle those things for them. And if that's you, you have a chance also. But most people aren't good at everything, which is why if you're a great designer, stick with that. Will this game be better than other games? Will your publisher be better than the other companies? What's going to be great about this? Why are you doing it? Honestly, most people are publishing games when I talk to them, and they won't admit it out loud, but many people publish games solely as a vanity project, right? I want to make this game because I want to make a game. I want to publish and design a game. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but if that's your reasoning, what are you going to get satisfaction out of? Now, most people will give you the answer, I just want to see people playing the game. And as a designer, I understand that. You walk by, you see people playing your game, that's a fantastic feeling. It really is. But why are you doing this? Do you have a business plan? And what is your business plan? Are you going to publish this game and then, we'll see what happens? Don't start a company if you don't kind of know a little bit ahead. I'm not saying you have to have a second game lined up, but are you starting a company to publish one game and I'm sure we'll publish other games. It's not as easy as you might think to find other great games, and invariably you will probably end up publishing games that aren't very good just to keep a line going, or your company will wither and die and you did that one spectacular game. Are you looking ahead? Are you planning for after the Kickstarter? You're like, yes, we'll Kickstart it. Oh, we sold 2,000 games. Yay. Now what? I don't know. How are we going to get these in distribution? I don't know. How are we going to get these to stores? You need to plan that stuff out ahead of time. Failure is probably going to happen. Every year, many companies start. Most of them fail. They really do. Now, I don't mean to be super discouraging and negative. Except, let me rephrase that. Yes, I do. Because if you succeed, it's amazing. If you succeed and your company does well, I applaud you. I love to see a company come and be the next Fantasy Flight, Asmodee, Days of Wonder, F2Z, Z-Man Games, Stronghold, Arcane Wonders, Cool Mini or Not, AEG. There's so many fantastic companies, and I see some of them start up. You can see Stonemaier moving into that category, and Tasty Minstrel moving up, and several companies moving and progressing and growing. And it's possible, but it is not probable. And if you don't plan for success, you're not going to get it. I have met so many people who are doing just a halfway job when they're like, oh, I'm going to kickstart the game. What's your plan? Well, I don't know yet. Well, you better know. Hey, we say this stuff because we want to see success. I don't want to see Kickstarters fail, but I want to see bad games fail. I do. I want to see people who don't know what they're doing and make no plans. I want to see them fail because I want to see good stuff rise to the top. Kickstarter is a fantastic tool if it's used properly. Not everyone is cut out to be a new company president, and you probably aren't. If you are, more power to you. But still, before you jump into that, think. Today we're taking a look at the Dragon Sheath. Now this is from Dogmite Games, and you might know them because they have made some of the most extraordinary dice towers that I have ever seen. But this is currently something on Kickstarter, and so I'm very interested in their things, and I love how these look, okay? This one here is a dragon. You can see the dragon face on one side and the claws on the other. This one here has gears on one side, and I don't really know these kind of weird symbols on the other. I have to say, I think this one is better. I just love how these things look. Now, you can do the same thing on both sides, and you can mix back and forth. You can put different things on the inside. Now, these are held together with magnets. You can see this one here. You can put maybe, you can put whatever you want in these, pens, dice, or whatever. But these magnets, I'm always afraid I'm going to catch my fingers in between these. I guess that would be kind of hard. But they do snap together really well. And I mean, really, you'd have to pull hard to get them apart. Like this one here, you can see I have a whole pile of dice in here because this is one of the coolest colors of dice ever made. And then you do that, and there's your dice. And then they have all sorts of things here. This is certainly one of those luxury items, right? This is not an item I would recommend everyone get. And for, this is probably more up the alley of a role-playing gamer. You keep your dice and your pen and stuff in these. At the same time, a board gamer might want to have one of these laying around. And there's all different kinds of wood and combinations and colors and things. So if you're interested in that, check out their Kickstarter. That's the Dragon Seethe.
Hi, Suzanne here with this week's featured board game app. When an app version of a favorite game is announced, I always get a little nervous because I so desperately want it to be good. When they announced the Patchwork app was coming, I was extra nervous because that is one of my all-time favorite games. But then I heard the up-and-coming dev shop DigiDice was making it. How'd they do? Let's take a quick look. Patchwork is a 2-player only game designed by Uwe Rosenberg in which players take turns buying different shaped patches to place on their personal player board. Buttons are currency and points in this game, with payouts marked on the shared board at different intervals. Time is actually a secondary currency too, because each patch you buy will move you along that shared track, reducing the amount of time you have to fill your own board. The first person to fill a 7x7 square gets a bonus tile, and empty squares on your board at the end of the game count as -2 points each. Spoiler alert, I love this app. First of all, the game launched for iOS, Android, and even Windows Phone with cross-platform play, which is awesome and virtually unheard of in board game apps. The tutorial does a good job of both teaching the game and the interface, and it's accessible anytime. There are 3 levels of AI you can play against, and there's also pass and play. But as already mentioned, there is cross-platform online play, which has really taken off with my friends, and you can even compete in ranked online play. There are a few launch hiccups that the developer is fixing, but overall the app plays smoothly, is full-featured, and is just a lot of fun. Some people don't care for the kind of cutesy aesthetic of the app, but there are completely optional IAP for different looks if you want. With last year's Le Havre Inland Port and now this excellent implementation of Patchwork, DigiDice has rocketed to the top of the board game app development shops. For $2.99, this app is a bargain, and I hope you downloaded it already as you were watching this segment.
Hi, it's me, Holly, again. So I do coffee here at Snakes and Lattes because the second half of our business is lattes. And so I make a lot of lattes. That's a lot of L's. Big part of Snakes and Lattes is gaming, but you also need coffee because it helps you stay awake and it helps you play games really fast. That's a fact I just made up, but it's probably not true. So what a great thing to have at a board game cafe is great coffee, because it's not just the quantity, it's the quality of the bean, of the people, of the drink itself. It's really great. You don't realize how much it actually adds to the environment, because it just, you could play board games at home, but if you come to our cafe, you can play and you can enjoy the whole environment of all the people and the coffee, which is wonderful. So next time you get a latte, you should actually sip it instead of just stare at it, because it tastes really good. But it's very important to have coffee in a business because people love coffee, and it's not just alcohol, and caffeine's great. We pour the shots and we make some fancy things. There's a lot that goes into making coffee. We have to make sure that this machine is working really well, so we all have this knowledge about how to work fancy, weird machines that most people don't know how to use. And we also know how to steam the milk very well, which is a very interesting technique. I've been a barista for 3 years and I haven't been as good as I had in the past until I started working here. So you know we really care. I like to make fancy faces sometimes on my art. I'll make a cat, because I like cats. It's all about art, so I guess baristas here are also artists. I don't know, it's great, but you should definitely enjoy our coffee when you have it. And barista, that's me. Yay! Make coffee.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is that. It is the end of another board game breakfast. No, I'll see you later for our Q&A time. It's going to be an interesting week. We are really gearing up. I'm so excited about a couple things that are happening. Not this Saturday, but the following Saturday, we're going to be doing a live show with Richard Ham, Rahdo from Rahdo Runs Through. So you can watch that, and maybe we'll sneak him in a couple other videos along the way if we can. And then the week after that, we are planning for the Gamma Trade Show, and there's going to be live stuff all week long, and lots of interviews and all sorts of excitement, because we are plowing full into 2016. But you know what? Don't forget, there's already a ton of amazing games. Go watch the reviews we did last week. Check out Week in Review, where we give you short snippets of all the reviews. There's a lot of great things happening. Hey, and you know what? I guess we should say happy birthday to Melody. It is her 16th birthday this week. Wow. My life is changing, folks, in more ways than one. Until next time, folks, I'm Tom Vasel. You've been watching Board Game Breakfast. Have fun.
Thanks for watching Board Game Breakfast. Tune in each week for your daily dose of gaming goodness with Tom Vasel and all the gang. Until next time, I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching Board Game Breakfast, a Dice Tower production, sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., an amazing place to buy board games. Cool stuff in stock at CoolStuffInc.com.